Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we discuss if Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter is a con artist. Why are we talking about this? Well, Sunday we found out some new information about Shohei Ohtani's interpreter that is kind of shocking and kind of like very revealing about the kind of person that this guy is. But before we get into that stuff, I will do just kind of a quick summary of this story, how it broke, and basically all of the news that we knew the first time and how people started jumping to different conclusions. So basically, I get the alert on my phone Friday night that Shohei Ohtani's interpreter stole $4.5 million from Shohei. And I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like one of those stories. I felt really bad for him. This is one of those stories that we've heard a million times in sports where basically these athletes have money flowing in all different directions, and there's people that get close enough and have access to this guy's funds, and they basically say, well, I see how much this guy's making, I know how much I'm making, I might just skim a little bit off the top. And then the people that usually get caught doing this, 'cause I'm sure this stuff happens all the time, is the people that do it in excess and steal multiple millions of dollars. I know this happened to Tim Duncan, and I'm pretty sure it also happened to Dirk Nowitzki. So similar situations like this. But then I started scrolling through Twitter and I was like, wait a second, why are people making a bunch of like Shohei Ohtani like gambling memes? So then I went and read the story. And basically, this is the story. So basically, I believe it was ESPN that broke the story. They interviewed Shohei Ohtani's now former interpreter, and talked to him for like 90 minutes, which is kind of shocking that that's how the story ended up breaking originally. And basically, because basically the media was getting tipped off of like, hey, there's this money that Shohei Ohtani is connected to gambling. Money is going from his account to offshore, bank accounts. What the hell is going on here? They talked to his interpreter. This is what his interpreter says. Hey, I have a gambling problem. I racked up $4.5 million in gambling debt, and Shohei Ohtani, being the good friend that he is, paid off that debt for me. So then that's the story the interpreter basically tells. Then Shohei Ohtani and his camp come out and say, no, this guy is a flat out liar. He stole that $4.5 million from us. And basically that is kind of like all of like the story that we knew about at that point. But the one thing that we knew for sure from this story was that $4.5 million in increments was getting sent from Shohei Ohtani's account over the course of several months. It was getting sent from Shohei Ohtani's account to some sort of offshore account. It's unclear whether it was to a bookie, whether it was to an offshore casino. It's still unclear kind of where that money ended up going. But then, because there's more unanswered questions here. The story just kind of made people start asking more questions, like, "Hey, did Shohei Ohtani know about this? Is this guy taking the fall for Shohei Ohtani?" And then people start asking the questions, like, "Wait a second, $4.5 million for an interpreter to gamble with? How does he rack up that much money in debt? How do just a guy, if you're just a random guy, even if he is making, let's say, handsome money for an interpreter, how does he rack up that much money in gambling debt?" And like a single bookie probably wouldn't have that much money, and then like there wouldn't be any offshore casinos that would let anyone have that sort of like bankroll or that sort of like capital to get that much debt with, even if you just knew a guy that was rich. So that all that stuff really didn't add up, and I think we're starting to get closer to the truth a little bit here. I think we're still several weeks away from finding the full story of what happened here, but this is the story that I am very interested in right now. And I think it's kind of revealing about maybe who this interpreter that was with Shohei Ohtani for so many years actually is. And this guy might actually be kind of a scumbag and, just a flat out liar. So I'll go ahead and show you guys this tweet here. This was originally, I believe, broken. The story was broken by NBC Los Angeles. So here's the story here. This is from an athletic reporter. Ipe Mizuhara claimed, that's Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter, claimed in his Angels media guide he graduated from UC Riverside in 2007. The school shows no record of that being the case. So this guy clearly lied about getting a degree from UC Riverside. So that's the first thing that's kind of like sketchy about this dude. Then reporters started kind of digging into this a little bit more. And they look up that fact that, like, hey, this guy was it also says in the Angels media guide that this guy was an interpreter for this Japanese pitcher, Hideki Okajima. He was his interpreter in 2012 for spring training with the Yankees, and he was also his interpreter in 2010 for the Boston Red Sox. But people looked into this a little bit, and the thing that's really fishy here is that Hideki Okajima was cut by the Yankees before spring training in 2012. So it would have been literally impossible for him to be his interpreter. Then people start contacting the Red Sox and saying, like, well, wait a second, do you guys know who this guy is? Do you have any records of this guy working for you? And they're like, no, this guy was never worked for us. He never worked for us. And this is what's very shocking here, is that this guy has been Shohei Ohtani's interpreter basically since he got to America. And the fact that he was able to lie about his college degree, lie about 2 different jobs, and be his interpreter for 6, 7 years. I think he got to the Angels around 16, 17. It's kind of amazing. And it's kind of shocking that no one did their due diligence in hiring this dude, because this guy, here's the facts that we know about this guy. We know that he lied about working for the Red Sox. We know that he lied about working for the Yankees. We know that he lied about getting a degree from UC Riverside. And we know that he stole $4.5 million from Shohei Ohtani. So, guys, I don't know if you call this guy a flat-out con artist, but this guy is probably pretty close to being a just flat-out narcissist. Definitely a pathological liar, or maybe a pathological liar, because it's going to be interesting when we get more facts, because people are going to start reporting on this dude, because this dude just seems like super sketchy, because it's getting to the point where it's like we don't know anything about this dude. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? How did he get this job? And like it's just kind of amazing. And kind of the thing that really sucks for Shohei Ohtani, and this is kind of, I'll get into kind of my theory of what happened, because I think this is kind of one of those cases similarly to like a Tim Duncan, a Dirk Nowitzki that I was mentioning earlier. Now, I don't know all the details of those stories, but this guy too, and this is kind of the tragic thing for Ohtani, this guy was Ohtani's best friend by all accounts. And it makes sense because Shohei Ohtani moves to the United States and gets this interpreter. And basically, it's probably the only person in his life that speaks his language and he's able to communicate with, because everyone in the United States, or most people in the United States speak English. There's a good percentage of people that also speak Spanish, but it's predominantly English. So you're surrounded by people every single day that don't speak your language. So it makes sense that you would bond with the one person that spoke your language. And these guys came very, very close. And it would make kind of sense to me that over time, if these guys did get really close, and this guy was, essentially communicating everything, for Shohei Ohtani, that this dude would have access to Shohei Ohtani's bank accounts. And with that being said, would have access to be able to transfer money, to himself overseas, a bunch of different things. So based off kind of like the lies that we know that this guy has already told, I don't know if, and based on what I've known, what I've read about, basically like, hey, the idea that this guy could even be able to rack up $4.5 million in gambling debt is kind of fishy. And it's kind of, it's very shocking. Kind of like my read on the situation here too. And I'm very interested to figure out more of the details of actually who the heck this guy is, and more about his background and how the Angels were even, in the MLB too, was able to even hire him. And the fact that this lasted this long, that this guy lied on his resume for so many years, and lied on his resume for so many years, and like no one knew about it until like just now, that it seems like this guy was stealing money off the top. He ended up getting caught here. He got, maybe got a little bit too gritty. Who knows if he was doing this prior to last year, because it seems like it started like I believe it was September, October. It started last year where the money was getting transferred out. Again, we still don't know what the money was for. Maybe it was for some sort of debt, or maybe this guy was just trying to skim money off the top. That'd probably be my guess, is that this guy was skimming money off the top from Shohei Ohtani, was literally just stealing money from him. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's basically all we know. We know the 4 things we know about this guy. He lied about working for the Red Sox. He lied about working for the Yankees. He lied about getting a degree from UC Riverside, and he stole $4.5 million from Shohei Ohtani. Those are the facts that we know here. I don't think Shohei Ohtani had gambled anything. I don't think he had anything to do with it. I think it's semi-plausible. Now, that was another theory that people were having too. I was like, hey, is there really an idea that like these guys spend so much time together, they're best friends, that Shohei Ohtani doesn't know that this guy is skimming from him? I actually think it's very possible. It's something that's happened all the time. It's probably happening right now to multiple athletes, multiple celebrities, around the world, where people close to them, don't have the best intentions or are trying to skim money off the top. So there you have it, guys. That's going to do it for this episode here today. If you enjoyed this episode here today and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. If you like this video here today, please hit that like button. Leave a comment on what you think about this whole situation here, whether you learned something from this video, whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me. I'd appreciate all the feedback you can. It really helps us out in the algorithm if you do all those things I just mentioned. And feel free to go ahead and check out the Sports Detective podcast page for more different videos. We talk NBA, college basketball, college football, NFL, a few different baseball stories here and there, a lot of sports media stories too when we find those interesting. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.